DMC is a legendary music icon who first impacted the world over 30 years ago. And it's a great thing because I was there to see every bit of those 30 years. It's great. From the first rap group to grace the covers of Rolling Stone magazine to the first to appear on MTV, Grammy-nominated Run DMC changed music, culture, fashion, language, and made American history. It would be hard to overstate his influence on popular culture. It's a great thing because I'm quite sure we all was there watching it all unfold as it was taking place. And, I'm sorry, 25 million record sales later and more than 10 years after the untimely death of his bandmate, Jam Master Jay, I'm going to pause here for a minute. DMC still continues to create, inspire, and motivate. In 2009, as a member of Run DMC, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's something that I think we all should be very proud of. In 2016, he received a Grammy Lifetime Magazine Award from the Recording Academy, given to performers who, during their lifetimes, have made creative contributions of outstanding artistic significance to the field of recording. In 2014, I'm very impressed with this because I am a superhero lover as well. He launched a comic book company called Daryl Makes Comics, where DMC is, guess what, the superhero. In those days, we all, well, I know a lot of guys, but me too, read a lot of comic books, and that's how he was inspired, trying to connect the worlds of hip-hop with superheroes. Comic books. Daryl is also the co-author of two critically acclaimed memoirs titled 10 Ways to Commit Suicide.
Not to.
Oh, 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide. Sorry about that. And the first one was King of Rock, Respect, Responsibility, and My Life with Run DMC. He also had an award-winning solo album called Checks, Thugs, and Rock and Roll. Throughout his journey, he has also did a lot of things in regards to an adoption and dealing with young adults or young children in regards to different youth issues, especially adoption and mental illness. He found out later on in life that he was adopted, and he put that into a VH1 not series, but documentary. And it was an Emmy-winning documentary. So, you know, I thought that was great that he shared that journey with the world. Well, I just also wanted to share, before I wrap this up, that he is part of, he started an organization to help children. He's also did work with First Lady Michelle Obama. He is a friend, a family friend, and a member of the community where I come from. I'd like everyone to give a round of applause to DMC.
One, two. One, two. I like this mic. This is awesome. Really works. What's happening, everybody?
Hi, just chilling.
How y'all feeling this evening?
Good. Good to see you.
So you're probably wondering what brings me to the library. Well, first of all, when I was growing up in Queens, New York, Hollis, Queens, New York,
718.
there was a lot of obstacles and distractions. And like the Bronx, like Manhattan, like Brooklyn and other boroughs, when I was a little kid, even though we was in a middle class, a lower middle class suburban area, see, we wasn't in the Bronx. The Bronx was burning. Back in the day, I know some of the OGs and the elders in here. Y'all remember Superfly and Shaft and Hell Up in Harlem? You go to Harlem now, it's beautiful. It's been a renaissance. There's businesses and restaurants and vegan restaurants and stores and everything. But back in the day, Harlem wasn't Harlem. Back in the day, Harlem was Harlem. And like I said, the Bronx was burning. So growing up in Queens, we would have to walk to the avenue to be in the ghetto. Because the whole neighborhood wasn't the ghetto. I mean, we had backyards and we had fences and, you know, some of the people with the nicer houses, they watered the lawn and stuff like that. And my father was one of those people. My mother and father were hard workers. My father worked for transit. My mother was a nurse. And my father, I mean, he worked in, we had the poor man's Cadillac. Y'all remember the Buick Electra 225, right? So that was my life as a little kid. But I think the thing that allowed me to discover my power was imagination. And Einstein, Albert Einstein, the so-called smartest man in history, he said that imagination is more important than knowledge. Einstein said that. Now, he didn't say knowledge wasn't good. He said imagination is more important than knowledge. Because what happens when you combine that imagination with the knowledge? And as I look at this generation, especially with the young people, you know, they're so caught up in social media. They're so caught up in thinking you need to be like everybody else. You need to do like everybody else. You need to act like everybody else. And there's nothing wrong with technology. Technology is a blessing. But the problem is, we're not tuning into the imagination of these young people. When you look at education, they're trying to teach the kids the same way they was teaching me in the 70s. That wasn't, hello? That wasn't even working for me in the 70s. So they're trying to do that now in this age of technology. So the reason why I bring all of this up was, I had to find something that was going to allow me to speak the language that I wanted to speak. I had to find something that was going to allow me to communicate and comprehend and understand. And that thing was imagination. And that imagination, believe it or not, was comic books. That was the thing that sparked my imagination. And in that generation, it was a generation where the educators, the teachers, the majority of the teachers was taking the comic books away from the kids. Saying the kids need to read the textbooks and workbooks, which is true. Kids, whether you like it or not, you have to tell the kids, all the young people, you do need to read the textbooks and workbooks. Even if some of that information, you'll probably never use it again. I get the kids all the time, Mr. DMC, I will never see this algebra equation in my life. This thing is useless to me. That may be true. He or she may never see that algebra equation. But I look at them and I say, yeah, but you're going to have to solve problems all your life. And then they look at me differently. The thing that allowed me to achieve all that I have done in my life was two things. It is, speaking in past tense, imagination combined with education. Let me say that again. Imagination combined with education. And young people always look at me crazy. Yo, D, what does you having to go to school, what does that have to do with you becoming the mighty king of rock? And I say, I'm not just the mighty king of rock, I'm the king of rock. There is none higher.
Sucker MCs to call me sire, to burn my kingdom. I must use fire,
and I won't stop
rocking till I retire.
And I say, do you know what none higher means? And they go, yes, that means nobody's higher for you. And I say, that's for eternity. But I try to make them understand the thing that gave me that power and ability, the same power and ability that's inside them, is something called information. And they look at me, what do you mean information? I say all education is information. And information, when you receive it, becomes education because you know about it. And that information, when you receive it, that becomes education, allows there to become a transformation. I wasn't this in appearance when I was little, but this very thing before you was inside of me. So if that was inside of me over 54 years ago, imagine what's in our kids right now. The power of education has to be packaged, presented, and produced in a way that is potent and exciting to the young person's brain. And for me, I had a personal guidance counselor, a setup, and that was in the comic books. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was read, collect, and draw comic books. And like I said, a lot of the educators was taking the comic books from the kids and destroying them. Fortunately for me, I had a couple of educators back then and there that saw that, well, don't we want the kids to read? So a couple of my teachers, they would take the comic book from me during class so I could pay attention, but then at the end of the class, they would give it back to me. And why did that work for me? I want this generation of elders and leaders and parents and educators and teachers to understand. This is what happens. In school, I learned about the sun, the moon, and the stars in science. And I always speak to kids at high schools and middle schools, right? You'll learn about the sun, the moons, and the moons and stars like that. I told kids a couple of years ago, because I still pay attention, you know, information is interesting to me. I always like, yo, can y'all tell me something? Is Pluto a planet or not? Because when I was little, Pluto was a planet. Then a couple of years ago, they said, no, Pluto's not a planet no more. So I remember I was giving a speech one time and I was like, the 9 planets, one kid said, excuse me, Mr. DMC, there's not 9 planets no more. I was like, what you talking about? In the 60s and 70s, it was 9 planets, 80s. It's like, no, Pluto's not a planet no more. But then a few months ago, they put Pluto back as a planet. But in school, our young kids, we want to teach our young kids about, you know, the sun, the moon, the stars, and Pluto, and the rings around Saturn. That's in school, that's in class in science. But imagination, in the comic books, check this out. The Silver Surfer would take me there. Let me say that again. In the comic books, the Silver Surfer would take me there. And you gotta understand what's the power of reading. When you're reading something, just like music, just like a TV show, just like the visuals, but when you're reading something, you get those emotions. But you receive it in a different way. Because now you gotta use your mind to picture. And when you use your mind to create a picture, you know, it's different from watching a video and getting it instantly, or seeing a TV show and getting it, or reading a book. When you use your mind to create a picture, the emotions is much deeper. In school, we try to teach the kids about World War II. The Nazis and the World War II and Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor and all of that. That's not really interesting to a kid right now. I mean, it wasn't interesting to me when I was little. And I know it's probably not interesting to the kids nowadays, because the wars that we should be teaching the kids about is the Gulf Wars and all of that. We had 2 Gulf Wars. And a lot of our children and our uncles and our mothers and fathers have been there. And our so-called culturally relevant rap music don't address those things. But in the 60s, the folk rock artists and the rock and roll artists and people like James Brown and Marvin Gaye would talk about these things. They would say, we got to put this information in our music. But for me, okay, World War II, cool. I learned about it in school, but Captain America would take me there, fighting the Red Skull. So now, if I'm learning about all of this in the comic books, and I'm seeing Iron Man create science and technology, and Reed Richards and Captain America on the battlefields of World War II, the next day I come to school, I'm like this. I'm paying attention because I want to know. I want to know what's going on in the world that I want to understand. So how did that lead to me being the DMC guy? When I made my first record, I didn't brag about the money I was getting. I didn't brag about my cars. Look, we made a record about our sneakers called Adidas, which is the reason why Kanye can go get a Yeezy deal. No curls, no braids, PZ heads still get paid. I am the reason why Yeezys can get made. That's powerful. And I spit that rhyme and the kids go, yo, that's true. If it wasn't for Run DMC with the Adidas records, these rappers wouldn't be getting deals. But what was it about it? Our presentation was our information. I didn't want to brag to y'all about who I am and how much money I got. I wanted to release some power. And I had a creative way to release it through my music. My music just became a real life comic book. And now when I say that, people go, yo, that's right, that's crazy. And King of Rock, I said, crash through walls, come through floors, bust through ceilings and knock down doors. Rappers don't do that. Superheroes do that. But I spoke those words, and what did Run DMC do? We changed the game. Eminem said, nobody in hip hop will ever do what y'all do. When I made my first record, Suck MCs, I said, I'm DMC, in the place to be. I go to St. John's University. And since kindergarten, I acquired the knowledge. And after 12th grade, I went straight to college. I'm light skinned. I live in Queens, and I love eating chicken and collard greens. Everybody was like, this motherfucker talking about chicken and collard greens. He rhyming about school. But what did me putting that information out do? Some of the kids who all they knew was stick up, rob houses, and sell drugs, they looked at me and was like, yo, Darryl, how the hell do you wear Adidas and you go to St. John's University and you got Benzes and a big gold chain and gazelles and stuff like that? And I would say, man, not only that, I was always a straight A student. 5 and 6 stars on my forehead, always on the honor roll. And I would say that with the same attitude that rappers rap about selling drugs. Think about it. A lot of the hip-hop guys that the hip-hop community celebrate, we praise them because they made money selling drugs. Is that a real success? Is that true? Because the kids ain't stupid. They know real gangsters is only in the jail or in the grave. So here's this guy, DMC, rapping about school and chicken and collard greens and the sneakers, and he got everything that the gangsters got. So just for me putting that out there, I didn't point my finger, you wrong from being in the gang, you wrong from selling drugs. I just released some new information. And truth be told, some of them kids was like, I'm getting rid of my gun, I'm getting rid of my drugs, and I'm going to go to school. I had one kid send me, he said, DMC, just for you saying what you said, I thought I had it all. I was selling drugs. I had Adidas. I had a leather Adidas suit. I had a Kango. I had the Run DMC glasses. I had the Run DMC Godfather hat. I had a Mercedes Benz. I had a pocket full of money. And then you come along rapping about school and stay in school, and you went to St. John's University. And this guy said, yo, I knew I was lacking something. And this is crazy. Then he said, just to be cool, just to be like Run DMC and them, he said he went and just got, he said, yo, D, I had dropped, he said, my name is Peanut, and I had dropped out of school. And he said, just to be complete. He said, just to be complete, I went and got a GED. And he said it was for no other reason than just to say, I got Adidas and gazelles and this, and I got a GED too. But he didn't know that the GED, that piece of paper, that knowledge that he went, because he forsaked it, he went back and got it. He didn't know the power in that. And then he said, yo, D, once I got my GED, I realized I was allowed to go take some courses at the community college. And he said, when I walked into community college, I saw a whole world of possibility that I did not know exist. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow, that's something that I'm always remember. A whole world of possibility that I did not know exist. And before I became the straight A student, I was looking at these comic books. It was the so-called make-believe world. It's the so-called pretend world. See, that's why the kids ain't attracted to a comic book. That's corny, pretend, make-believe stuff. I go, yeah, yes it is. Yeah, it's corny, pretend, make-believe stuff. But it's real. What you talking about? Look at the words make-believe. Man, you in that corny make-believe stuff. I used to say, you're goddamn right. Because make-believe, what you make-believe, you make the world believe it. See, they don't say that to our young people. They don't want to get, no, don't go to school. This is real. Don't go to school. Sell the drugs, shoot each other, fight each other. This is real. And you know it's real. And they think it's real because look at all the information that's being presented to them. Look, go on social media. Everybody's mad at everybody. There's always a beef everywhere, right? Turn on Hot 97, turn on Power 107. Listen to the music that they're promoting to our kids. So all it is information. If that's all the information that's going to get, that's going to become their reality. So make-believe for me was this. Yo, this ain't make-believe, this is real. And how could I do it? DC was cool. And the reason why I'm saying all this, we got to present a real world that the kids will be interested in and have a desire to go understand how it works. DC was cool. One of my first comic book I ever brought was Batman. And it was just because of the way it looked. It was the Dark Knight. I was in kindergarten. I couldn't even read. But the look, I want this. My brother was 3 years older than me, so the older kids were already reading and into the comic books. And the day that I was allowed, you hold his hand. My mother was so scared I had to walk with my brother Alfred to. Remember, there was no what's the stores? Kmart's and what's the other big store? Walmart's. It wasn't none of that. We used to have to go to the drugstore or the candy store, and they had the revolving rack to get our comic books. And I remember that I went there and I got Batman, and then I just got into the way things looked. By second grade, I became a good reader because I was reading the comic books and it made me want to know how to pronounce the words that I was reading. But DC was cool. And this is crazy. And this is what I'm saying. It's how we present information to our kids to educate them without them even knowing they're being educated. DC was cool. But Gotham, see, young people, they want reality. You know what I'm saying? So the only reality that they get nowadays from our hip hop and from our rap music is that, yo, it's cool to shoot. No, shooting is shooting. That shit is serious. Excuse my language. But it's not cool to shoot. Even back in the days, in the 80s and 90s, of all the famous drug dealers, all my drug dealing friends didn't want to be drug dealers. But now hip hop's promoting it like it's cool. So DC was cool, but Gotham and Metropolis was fake. They was trying to be in New York. The DC artists and the DC writers, Gotham and Metropolis, where Superman and Batman lived, was a fictional New York. But Stan the Man Lee, for this little kid and all the other little kids like me, he was smart about the world. He created something. Because I saw Fifth Avenue, I saw Hell. Y'all know the movie on Netflix and all this, Hell's Kitchen. Real places. Avengers Mansion is in New York. Spider-Man, this is the whole thing. Why do you think my whole career, I'm DMC from Queens. I'm the king of rock up front. Kings from Queens. My name's Al Mack. I live in Queens. I love eating chicken and collard greens. I come from Queens. I come from Queens. You know why I was so vocal with telling y'all I was from Queens? Because I really lived there, and Spider-Man lived in Queens. Peter Parker lived in Queens. When I found that out, that blew my mind. That blew my mind. So I'm in this make-believe world that is relevant to the reality that I'm living when I walk out the door. So it empowered me. It was setting me up. It was setting me up. And information sets our young people up. The information that they get on social media, there's a million zillion good things on social media that don't get shown. But the majority of it is everybody fighting and the comments and stuff like that. I think it was Drake who said, I don't read the comments on YouTube. Because people are like really, really mean and upset, you know what I'm saying? That's not a way to communicate. So before we had this social media, all we had was what was being presented to us. And a lot of it wasn't working for us. Well, Marvel Comics was working for me because I saw the places that I live. I remember the first time we went over the 59th Street Bridge, and it's Roosevelt Island, and they got the tram. So I think I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was in the back seat, and my mother and father was driving, and we're going over 59th Street, and all of a sudden I just start hyperventilating. So my mother, she was a nurse. She turns around. She's like, boy, what's the matter with you? Pull over. My father, he thought I was crazy. The boy's crazy. I told you, it's stupid. He's just crazy. There's something the matter with him. And it's a boy, speak up. So my father's mad at me. My mother's concerned. What's the matter? What's the matter, boy? What's the matter? Tell us, tell us. And I couldn't get it out. And when it finally came out, it was like, it does exist. And I was like, what are you, is this for real? It does exist. What are you talking about? The tram. I had only seen the tram previously in a Spider-Man book. So for me to see, you know the tram thing that comes, when I saw it for real, I was like, it does exist. It was real to me. So y'all probably looking at me like, how does all of this, what does all of this have to do with your success? And I'm going to tell you in a minute. From being excited to learn about stuff that I was interested in. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of teachers across America right now who are changing the whole curriculum in their classrooms. They're putting hip-hop in their curriculum. They're putting talks about current events. Yo, put the history book to the side. Let's talk about how you feel about what happened yesterday. Because kids have emotions and feelings and stuff like that. So if you could talk to a kid about what he's going through right now, how do you feel about Trump? And how do you feel about these wars? How do you feel about what's going on in Chicago? How do you feel about what's going on in Freeport? How do you feel about, you know, all the killings and the shootings like that? They will tell you how they really feel about it. They will tell you that. So what did we create when we was younger people? We created this thing called hip-hop. Hip-hop has nothing to do with just rappers. Like kids nowadays, hip-hop didn't just, I tell the kids, hip-hop didn't create rappers. What you talking about, DMC? Created doctors, lawyers, educators, book writers, journalists, news people, playwrights. Look at Hamilton. Dude was from the Heights, loving hip-hop, breakdancing and rhyming and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do a play. So all the possibilities of opportunity that exists, but we didn't create it, we had to create it ourselves with what was in us. So for me, I had all this imagination and education in me. I was good with the school thing because I was always reading comic books. Since I was always reading comic books, it made me a good reader in school. So from kindergarten to 12th grade was a breeze for me. So I was prepared, but I had no idea what I was going to do when I was going to get older. But I had no idea what was about to happen. And the reason why I'm talking about this in the library, we got to get children, the younger generation, excited about receiving information. But it's got to be presented. We got to find out, what do you like? Okay, that's what I'm going to use for you. What do you like? What do you like? And all the first thing the kids are going to say, I like to rap and this and that. But they want to just rap because of 6ix9ine and Cardi B and stuff like that. But then you got to tell them, yeah, we're going to take away Cardi B and 6ix9ine as being the vocalist. Let's talk about the music. Then you start explaining them about the music. And then you start showing them where they're coming from. No, Cardi B got that from Busta Rhymes, but Busta Rhymes got that from Gil Scott-Heron. And then we gotta make it relevant to, I always tell the kids, one thing that kids forget about us, and this is what kills them in all my visits to high school and middle schools, I say, take a look around the room. Look at your teachers, your guidance counselor, and you go home and you look at your parents. The funny joke, y'all, is that our kids think we don't know nothing. No, they really do. But then I hit them with this. Y'all forget that we was young too. Every trick of the trade we did, we played hooky, we lied to get the extra money, all of that. Then now they scared of me, like, whoa. And it was just all about the information. So all of this information that I had in me that was education and imagination, and they rhyme. I didn't know it was going to rhyme. Education, information, imagination, it all rhymes. So I had it all in me, but I had no way to release it out of me. But thankfully, some young brothers and sisters from the Bronx who was going to provide the world with some information that was going to change everything drastically. In the 70s, when we was coming up, what was it? Disco was huge. Some of them, I'm 54, so everybody 30 and older remember disco. Even if it was your little kid, you remember disco was huge. Disco was taking over. But disco was a lifestyle thing as opposed to just the music. The same way hip hop is. People ask me now, what do you think about hip hop now? I go, it's disco to me. What do you mean? Glitter balls, fur coats, pool parties, Bentleys, Rolls Royces. Go look at disco in the 70s, sex and taking drugs and rich people jumping around, and then go look at hip hop right now. It's the same thing. And one day when I was little, I woke up. It was an overnight thing. I woke up one day and everybody was saying disco sucks. Now it wasn't about the music. Donna Summer was great. The Tramps, the OJs, all our R&B groups, they was making disco. And disco was so powerful, it was so dominant that some of the biggest rock bands, the Rolling Stones, when they did Miss You, they was doing it to be down with disco. Queen, when they did Another One Bites the Dust, they was trying to make disco records. So look at hip hop now. Hip hop has dominated everything, right? Same way it was back then. So look at hip hop, look at disco. In the 70s, everybody thought, just like in all of our communities, everybody think hip hop is this great thing. When all I got to do is listen to it and dress like it, and I'm gonna be affluent in all of that. It's the same thing. If I listen to this record, where these guys are foolish. Now look, sex and violence and all that stuff exists and stuff like that. But when it gets to a point that that's the only information that's being presented, it becomes detrimental to the survival of the next generation coming along. So everybody was looking at disco. Everybody was looking at disco in the 70s, and they was looking at New York. And they was going, yo, New York is heaven. Because think about it, remember, Hollywood was coming to New York to party at Studio 54 and all the other discos. Every CEO, every actor, every entertainment person, every athlete was coming to Studio 54. Every time he turned on the TV and turned on the radio, it was a disco record or some disco people, some of them celebrity stars, movie stars doing something. The same way, every time we turn on Instagram or Twitter, it's a celebrity movie star doing something. And it got to the point where it became monotonous. And monotony breeds boredom. And boredom gives birth to destruction. But everybody wanted to ignore the truth. So their perception was New York City is great. It's great in New York City. Everything in New York City is all right. But it took some young people who had imagination. And those young people were kids just like me. But they lived in the Bronx. They had less than me. At least I lived in a house. I had a backyard. My mother and father worked every day. I went to Catholic school my whole life. So that was another bad thing on me. Because I got bullied and teased and picked on because I went to Catholic school. I used to have to run home from Catholic school, put on my play clothes. Now I could come back outside like I'm accepted. And Imagine the kids now, they changing who they really are to be accepted. And it's worse now because of the information that's being provided to them. They don't get all the necessary information for each individual's advancement and survival. So in the 70s, New York is great. Disco and fur coats and champagne and sex and cocaine and all of that stuff. Nobody wanted to go to school anymore. Nobody wanted to be a journalist. Nobody wanted to be a scientist. Nobody wanted to be a writer. Nobody wanted to be an educator. Nobody wanted to wake up and be a 9-to-5 hard worker. Everybody wanted to be like those guys in Studio 54. But that was a false representation of all of us. That's what those people do. So what happened? All the little kids, all the young people who realized I got a power but nothing to release it. Those kids up in the Bronx who was a street gang said, yo, look at all this power that we got when we fighting each other. Let's stop fighting each other. And Africa Bambaataa and Zulu Nation was born. We ain't gonna be the black slaves no more in 7 crowns and do. Let's figure out if we can do it. Because we have no resources. And resources, especially for you young people here, resources is 2 things. And it's the thing that causes us to do what we do to take advantage, to get ahead and take the easy way out. Resources is real estate and money. Let me say that. We had no resources. A lot of our young people don't have resources now. But when we all, the gangbangers and drug dealers, were sitting in that room, we was like, yo, we do got some resources. What you talking about? What's inside of you? Hip-hop says, what do you... First of all, hip-hop is about no excuses. What do you have inside of you that could be useful? Everybody in this room is a product of pop culture. I'm sitting before you, I'm I Dream a Genie, I'm the Brady Bunch, I'm the Jetsons, I'm the Flintstones, I'm all the comic books that I read, I'm Star Trek, I'm all the commercials I see on TV, I'm all the music that I hear. We are that's who we are, that's what makes us. So a lot of the information that's being promoted to us finds us to have no interest in the necessary, vital information for survival. So all these young people, we sit in the room, yo, we got no money, we got no real estate, but what do we have? We have the arts. We have the arts. Art, drawing, writing, music, dance, and style. That's our flavor. There was no dollar amounts on these things. So what did we do to counter the information? People think New York City is heaven, but that's not true, because every day, not only the kids in the Bronx and Harlem, Brooklyn was Bed-Stuy, do or die. Queens, they didn't know Queens was hell until Run DMC put it on the map, and then they said, yo, were they just like Bed-Stuy, do or die? But these young brothers and sisters, they took the information that they were receiving from their imagination and started to describe the actual everyday surroundings in their communities and their situations. While everybody thought New York was all good, these young kids who were influenced by comic books, cartoons, and TV shows, and kung fu movies, Bruce Lee's a hero to me. Y'all remember look at Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang's a perfect example. There's people that did not like hip-hop. They didn't care about Run DMC, Pac, or Big, or none of us. But when the Wu-Tang came out talking about kung fu movies, those kung fu movies was like, yo, we can go with these guys. And when it came to the Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang wasn't giving them foolishness. Wu-Tang was dropping knowledge, wisdom, understanding, politics, history, and current events, and fun. So those people got a necessary look. Those people received the necessary information that was detrimental to us, to the survival of us collectively. All the graffiti writers were influenced by the cartoons and the comic books that they were reading. A kid picked up a comic book and said, that's inside of me, let me go write on a train, let me go write on a wall. And that was wrong. To young people in here, you young people in here, message to y'all is you don't own anything unless you do 2 things. You work to buy it, or you get off your behind and you build it yourself. But there's a beauty inside of y'all, even in this generation, y'all don't know about. Because we just had to get the art that we received. The reason why we was attracted to those comic books is because they was in us. So we had to get that art out of us, but we had no resources, so we're going to write on walls without permission, because it's just that we got to get this out. Because if we don't get it out of us, we're going to self-destruct. And rightfully so, we was getting arrested and thrown in jail. But the day that an art connoisseur, a person who knows art, a person that's at the auctions at Sotheby's and all of that, a person that they come to the museums and says, is this valuable, can you tell us about that? That person saw the art that was on the trains and the walls that we didn't own, that we was writing on, and said, wait a minute, stop throwing these young boys and girls in jail. Look at that beautiful piece of artwork that he or she just drew on the wall. Now remember, we wasn't getting no money. We wasn't getting no money. So we're standing here in handcuffs with the cops who are about to take us in, and the art connoisseur says, look at that art. We also, hold on, he just called my graffiti, because graffiti was graffiti, that's wrong. He just called my graffiti art. And you know what, by calling it something that was good did to us? We wasn't getting money yet. I'm an artist. So now they're going to jail like this. And now when they get out of jail, they're not wearing a mask no more, sneaking around and hopping fences. They're walking around like this. Not a dime was put in their pocket. See, the money ain't the valuable thing. It's about the understanding that he or she was an artist. And once they started holding their heads up, that allowed people who used to be afraid of the way they looked to say, come here, son, I need you to draw a piece, I'll give you $1,000. Come here, son, I need you to do my store. I need you to do my van. I need you to do my truck. I need you to do this wall. And then from that little notification of the opportunity that was inside of this young person, go down in the village now. Go down to the art galleries. There's graffiti artists in there getting 10, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 for their artwork. Because that's the valuable thing. Now, eventually, when kids will see, whoa, he just got $1,000 to do that? And I'm running around getting shot at selling these drugs to get that $1,000? And then my drug boss going to take half and just give me 100? No, I want to do that now. And the kids started realizing, oh, I shouldn't be ashamed of good things. I shouldn't be ashamed of good things. We wanted to dance. We wanted to dance, but there was no opportunity for us. There was no information of how to become. How do we get on Carnegie Hall? How do we get on stage at the Apollo and stuff like that? So we young people sitting around, and the ones that didn't want to do the easy way, sell the drugs, do the stick-ups and robs the houses and stuff like that, we want to do safe things. So innovatively and creatively, if you know the information, it's about making the information, providing the information to the kids in a creative way so their imagination can create what's needed to make things safer. We wanted to dance. We had no building. We didn't have this. We didn't have a stage. But one kid said, yo, give me some scissors. Man, we trying to dance and we trying to get out of this depth, despair, and darkness, and you want some scissors? Man, just give me some scissors. All right, run home. Here you go, Mr. Big Shot. Yo, y'all go over there and get those cardboard boxes. Go get the cardboard boxes. Huh? Cut the cardboard boxes up, put them on the asphalt and on the corners, and then park. Now we got a dance floor. So now we can dance. We just get no money for it. Now we can just dance because I feel like spinning on my head. Now, imagine a couple of years ago, we're right now, and all of this, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to go this, and you need to go to Harvard, and this and that. And the kid said, no, that's not, I want to spin on my head. We'll look at the kid like he's crazy. But all those kids that were spinning on their head, perfect example is a band called the Jabberwockies. The Jabberwockies, they won America's Best Dance thing on MTV a couple of years ago. And those Jabberwocky guys, I think they're a bunch of Asian kids, maybe a couple of Latino, they were watching the black poor kids from the Bronx do it for nothing and said, that's in me. So it works both ways. The lower class, the so-called underprivileged and troubled kids, they can inspire the kid that lives in Beverly Hills to take his thing to another level. But what I'm trying to get at, the Jabberwockies now have a residency. For you young people, a residency is something that Celine Dion gets in Vegas, that J-Lo has one, Britney Spears has one, my boys Aerosmith has one, Elton John has one, Cher has one. Little break-dancing dudes that used to spin on their heads on cardboard have a residency in Vegas now. See, imagination is valuable. So if a kid says, I feel like spinning on my nose, pay attention to that kid. Because imagination is real. Make believe. Think about that. Think about that advancement. And I bring that up because I'm just reading these comic books, which made me a good student. Now I got all this stuff in me that I got to get it out. So these kids in the Bronx, to serve a purpose, not just to be rich and famous, to serve a purpose. They come and tell the true information that this whole nation needed to hear. When everybody was saying, Studio 54 in New York is perfect, man. Like I said, people were leaving Hollywood because they thought New York was so safe. They had no idea until the young people spoke up in a language that they created that mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers were experiencing. What did Melly Mel say? Broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the station. No, I just don't care. I can't take the smell. I can't take the noise. Got no money to move out. Yes, I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with a baseball bat. I tried to get away, but I couldn't get far because a man with a tow truck repossessed. Then Mel said, don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how. Now think about that. These are the young, Mel probably was what, 18, 19? You know what I'm saying? 16, 17. You know what I'm saying? All the rappers, for you young people, the typical rapper back in the day was 12 to 18 years old. And they wasn't spitting no knowledge. They was talking history, knowledge, understanding. They was giving us information. But the powerful thing about what the young rappers were doing, they were the voices of our parents. We had free time. Our mothers and fathers were struggling going to work. So when Mel said, don't push me, it's like that's how our parents and the elders was feeling. And when they did that, that made all of those people in Studio 54 start paying attention. Whoa. Overnight, disco sucks. All the discos started closing down. Because people cared about what the young people were saying. And the very next day they wanted to do D's for doing it all of the time. M's for the rhymes, that are mine. C's for cool as can be. And women say, why you wear those glasses? And I'm going to go, so I can see. I didn't wear them to be cool. I didn't wear them for fashion. I wore them because if I don't wear them, I can't see. But I said it with an attitude and people believed it. Think about that. Another thing that comic books did for me in reading and education, because the imagination makes the information, it makes the education more solidified and adventurous and fun if I know I can use it to satisfy myself. So what I did was I was sitting there one day and I was like, Thor is the son of Odin from Asgard. He got a brother named Loki and he got a hammer. That's in that universe. In this universe, I'm Daryl. I live in Hollis. My father's name is Byford. I got a brother named Alfred, and I got a Mike. So in the snap of a finger, I became son of Byford, brother of Al. Bears my mother and runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Daryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree. My mother, my father, my brother, and me. And the whole world was like, ah. Think about that. So now people are going back to listening to my music, Crash Drew Raw, Son of Bife, this and that. In comic books, when they give you a little thing, a picture, a word, an event, they call them Easter eggs. In comic books, and you know, all stories place little things. Oh, I remember that in the first movie. My whole life is a bunch of Easter eggs. But the reason why it worked, communicating to people, say, yo, DMC, because of you, I went and got a GED. Because of you, I stopped selling drugs. Because of you, I am what? Everybody in hip-hop says there's something Dr. Dre, because of you, I saw you guys. When you saw me running Jay, you didn't see celebrity. You saw yourself. And that's key. The information should allow the young people to see themselves. I didn't see myself in what was in my so-called reality. I saw myself in what was in them books because it was relatable. And what was cool to me was some of the baddest people in existence, even though they didn't physically exist in our realm, in those comic books, they really existed to me. Because when I read the comic books, I felt emotion. It must be real if you could feel the emotion. It must be real if you could feel the emotion. A lot of these kids, when I go visit them in the group homes and in the correctional facility, a lot of them are dead to the crimes that they just did because it's just a one-sided world that they see every day. They're not being exposed to the other thing that makes them feel good. They're doing these murders, they're selling these drugs, it doesn't make them feel good. They think it's a temporary fix for them. When I was doing it, I was like, these emotions here can manifest itself on this plane here. And what I wasn't getting from the school teacher, I was getting from the comic book, but I had to receive from the school teacher so I could understand the world that I lived in. And that's all hip hop did at first. So it was my imagination that allowed me to do what I have done with Running Jay. And the funny thing is about it is, since I was the only guy talking about those things, like I ran into Wycliffe, and Wycliffe was like, yo, DMC's the only MC that could talk about chicken and collard greens, a pair of sneakers, St. John's University, and Christmas to make it gangster. Christmas time in Hollis, Queens, mom's cooking chicken and collard greens, rice and stuffing macaroni and cheese. Like, I'm scared about this holiday coming up because everywhere I go, people yell those words at me. But it's something that they all can relate to. Even so powerful that in the creative, descriptive way that I wrote it, even so powerful, I get Muslims, I get Jewish people, I get Asian people, people from all religions say, every Christmas, we listen, you would think, no, we can't, we don't believe in Jesus. But I got Jewish people that say, yo, we play your record real loud. Because it was about what it is. And that's the thing that we need to find more creative ways to communicate to our young people, to open them up so they're not afraid to communicate with the elders in their community. Grand Poobah from Brand Nubian. Poobah, one of the greatest MCs ever. I don't know why he's never put in the top 5. He's amazing. About 10 years ago, he put out a solo album, and you know, since he's not on TMZ, since he's not on BET, he's not on the radio anymore, people think Grand Poobah used to be hip hop. But Grand Poobah did a verse on a rhyme. He said, nowadays, the old heads are scared of the youth. You remove a tree from the roots and you kill all the fruits. It's the dopest rhyme I ever heard. Nowadays, the old heads are scared of the youth. Remove a tree from the roots, and you kill all the fruits. All hip hop did was utilize the information of the elders in a creative way. I tell kids the reason why I'm so powerful, we did one thing that a lot of young people don't do to all of you mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and teachers and leaders in the community. We listen to the elders. Why would you listen to the elders? Because they have experience. And information that's coming from experience is potent. But what we did was we took the information the elders was giving us, put it in our language, and then we released it. And what that did when we was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, it was presented in the languages of the TV shows and cartoons and kung fu movies and comic books that we read. So while we was speaking it to the music on the microphone, if I was 15, 16 years old, all the kids, boys and girls, 14 and younger, are now receiving information that's going to make them more important when they get to my age. See, the problem with hip-hop right now is this. You got grown men, 25, y'all thought I was going to say 30, no. You got grown men, you're like, when you're 21, 22, you still got time to go play and go to the club and do all the stuff that you do. But when you're 25, you're a man. Or when you're 25, you're a lady. But the problem is, we got the elders in communities, and now our black, Latino, even the white people, Italian, anybody that's so-called hip-hop, you got the elders, the men and the women 25 and older, acting, dressing, and talking like the young people. And that is not good. When I was 16 years old, and my cousins who were 17 to 21 came over, we looked up to them. And they knew, yo, Daryl's in the room, don't say what you're not supposed to say till he's 17. But now, technology and information is making the access to the young people, which they're going to get it, but they should get the information as it's relevant to their situation. I didn't even mean for that to rhyme now. They should get the information relevant to their situation. So now, the little 16-year-old kid sitting next to somebody 25 years old who acts, talks, and walks just like them, and the other problem with the men is the older guys are even chasing their younger women. So now the younger kids are looking at their men like, I don't gotta listen to this fool and they're right. It's not the kid's fault. It's like, because the grown up. Y'all see the reality shows? Y'all see the language, you know what I'm saying? Run DMC, we cussed. We only cussed on like 2 records. But we only used the cuss word to put a point across. So we was able to take the imagination and apply it to the information, and it had potent results. And the more you know, the less you know. So once you see that it starts working, you'll start thirsting for more and more and more. Tupac's a great example. Tupac was brilliant. You know what I'm saying? Tupac, look at his roots of his family. He come from revolution and rebellion and want and lack and oppression. And then Tupac, great lyricist, great MC, great actor, and all of that stuff. And I tell kids, Tupac is not worshiped in hip-hop because of all the trouble that he got in, because he had Thug Life tattooed on his torso. What do you mean, yeah, Tupac was from the street? Yeah, he was, this and that, yeah. But you know what made him powerful wasn't the fact that he got arrested and spit at cameras and all the stuff, trouble that he got in. He's worshipped for 2 reasons. And this blows the kid's mind. What are you talking about? This nigga comes. Yeah, you know, he's from Compton. He's originally from Jersey and all that. Outlaws and all that. But the 2 reasons Tupac is worshipped in hip-hop is because of Brenda Had a Baby and Dear Mama. Remember those 2 records? Kids only remember the record when he talk about, Biggie, I did your girl and this and that, and I'll shoot you and this and that. They only remember, I'm gonna die in a hail of bullets. And he said that on every record. But the reason why he's worshipped is Brenda Had a Baby and Dear Mama. Nobody in the record business told Tupac at the height of his career, do a record about teenage pregnancy. He said, I gotta get this information out to save my people from that. He knew what the art was for. People don't, they never talk about that. They say it's a great record, but they never say why. And then he did, listen, put Dear Mama on right now. The sound and emotion in that record. When that beat comes on and the way you rap, Dear Mama, I appreciate you. That's real. And the kids go, whoa, yeah. And then they go, yo, that record is deaf. All the kids that love 6ix9ine and Carly B, they go, yo, that record is real deaf. Because it's emotion and it's reality. They can relate to that. And those kids those individuals exist now. We just gotta find it, and we gotta open up those opportunities of communication to them. So to come in here to the library was beautiful for me, because kids need to realize there's a lot of information in their books that will fix their situation. There's a lot of information sitting down with the elders of the community. In my generation, a lot of the pimps, drug dealers, they would be like, yo man, yo, shorty, you gotta get off the corner. You don't need to be up here with that. But they don't do that no more. The gangsters now are making records about, yo, shorty, come do this, cause I do it. I'm pushing keys up and down I-95, this and that, this and that. The real gangsters in gangster rap always made a gangster rap record, but then at the very end of the record, you don't do that. They didn't allow these corporations just pump. It's good to do that. We had to get to, like Melly Mel did with his record, The Message. Scarface on, I'm gonna take questions in a minute. Scarface on Mind Playing Tricks on Me. He said, at night I can't sleep. Lord, I'm in church, show me another way. Willie Deesron, his mind was playing so many tricks on him, he jumped out the car and was about to shoot the senior citizens in the car. Going to Popeyes, remember I bailed out. Almost shot his grandmother. Bushwick Bill, probably Angel Dust. I mean, I smoked dust in my day. Angel Dust, these kids are on lean now. Bushwick Bill's drama, he thought he was beating a man down on Halloween. Come to find out he was beating the ground. My mom playing tricks on me. Here's my story, shorty, but I don't want you to go to jail. What could I do then? Go get an education, learn information. Kids need to know, okay, you don't want to go to college, you don't like books, but you still got to learn something. Learning is just getting information. I don't want to go to college, I don't want to go to Harvard. But take a vocation. Vocation, not a vacation, a vocation. You know what I'm saying? Learn computers, learn plumbing, open up your own plumbing business. I work with a lot of foster kids. What we did with the kid that liked to steal cars is this. Like, we'll let him out, he's going to go steal cars. We let him out, we're going to steal cars. Okay, we're going to let you out, we're going to put your ass around cars. We gave him a job inside the auto body shop. And we didn't say, we're going to give you $50 a week. The owner of the shop said, man, you know, I'm getting money. I'm going to take $250 out of my paycheck, and I'm going to give this to the kid, because now the kid, $250. You give him $50, he's going to spend it in a minute. Now with $250, if he works his a week, next week is $500, this and that. So now instead of teaching him, he loves cars, teach him how to build and fix the cars. So now that kid has his own auto body shop here. He don't got to go to Harvard till he got his own auto. Now he's understanding, I got one shop. If you can go get a McDonald's franchise and have 3 McDonald's, I can have 3 of these. But it's all about creatively sparking their imagination. The resources that the kids have is abundant for us. Our struggle is, just like you becoming a leader in our community, is making sure we're pulling on the resources for those that assistance. So I just sit before you because a lot of the young people, you know, we can't just wiggle our fingers at them. We just got to tell them, y'all have everything necessary for your success. And that's the thing that hip-hop proves. Hip-hop would not exist if it wasn't for education. Education would not exist if it wasn't for information. And if we utilize those things, there could be a transformation. I tell kids another thing before I close this. I tell kids, never ever say you want to be like anybody. Never say because you're not. And that's the one thing that's keeping a lot of this, man, I want to be like Jay-Z. But you can't, because Jay-Z's being Jay-Z. But then I blow their mind with this. You have the ability to do it. It's an astronomical number. You have the ability to do above and beyond what Jay-Z has done. You can't be Jay-Z because he's busy being Jay-Z. You on your records rhyming about the G9. Remember Jay-Z came out, he was talking about the G1 and the G2, and all of a sudden we woke up, what's a G7? Like wherever Jay-Z at, I don't even know where that's at. But I tell the kids, look, you don't want the 10 million that brought Jay-Z's album. You want the 10 billion that didn't. Well, how do I get that? How do you want, what's inside of you? What can you do that Jay-Z doesn't do? Oh, and it's easy for them. But we got to encourage them that that's okay. I can take some questions. One last scenario I want to give to is about Ice Cube. Remember, Ice Cube was the creative force behind NWA. And NWA came out, NWA was necessary. Problem with NWA was we didn't need another 100 NWA groups talking about the same thing. NWA came out, it was saying this is what it is. F the police, be better, have more money, all of that. Now remember what Ice Cube did. NWA shocked the nation. It's very controversial. Dre's on his way, Cube's on his way, all of those guys were on their way. Ice Cube left NWA, and this is good for the neighborhood kids here, and came to Roosevelt, Long Island, about 2 minutes from here. Whoa. And he hooked up with a group called Public Enemy and the Bomb Squad. And Ice Cube made a record called America's Most Wanted, which was critically acclaimed because NWA was just F the police and be better, have more money and this and that. But then Ice Cube realized, oh, this is information that is relevant to Compton and what was going on in LA and in the different ways, Harlem, Queens and all that. Then he left, got with the guys who were on the forefront of presenting the total representation of information, and he went and got with Public Enemy and the Bomb Squad and made America's Most Wanted, which explained the emotions. And go listen to America's Most Wanted. Ice Cube was explaining why these guys were saying F the police and be better, have my money. And then he was also given alternatives to that. So for me, comic books and reading, writing, isn't the only necessary thing to utilize. Let's find out the bad kid might be interested in Star Wars and let them know don't be ashamed of that. Let's find out what these girls are interested in. I always say we don't need more of our girls in reality shows chasing rappers and athletes. We need to teach our girls how to own the rappers and athletes. And we can. Last quote of the day, Chuck D said, if hip hop is so good, and this is to all the young people and the elders and stuff like that, if hip hop is so good, what happened to the fully clothed female rapper who doesn't use profanity? And Chuck D said that at a concert, and you think anybody from the labels who's putting the music out would speak on that? What happened to our, remember I said adjectives? And adjectives and imagination and making believe does a great thing. Remember I said adjective? What happened to our queen, Latifah? You know what that did to the girls in the neighborhood? I could be a queen too. What happened to our MC Lights? What happened to our, let's not forget Moni Love. She was dope. Moni Love right now better than 99% of all these dude rappers out there. What happened to Bahamadia? What happened when they said, Lauren, you could never put this album out. You're a single mother and you this and that. This ain't the type of music they want from you. She put out Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Y'all remember that album? Every record on that record was dope. 17 million albums later, it was what it was inside of her. So if we can open up the imagination of our young people by whatever means is necessary, we can eventually have a transformation. But this message here is just so that we all can notice. It's up to us to support the leaders who's going to fight for that when they go sit down at these tables. And if we can do what the Bronx did 45 years ago, I think in 3 years we could see a turnaround in our neighborhoods. Any questions? I'd like to take questions before we close. All right, I'm going to start there and go first.
I'm going to give a comment.
Excuse me?
I'm going to give a comment.
Oh, that's very good, correct. My comic book is available at any comic book store in the nation. It's available at all comic book stores.
I just want to say it's a real honor to be sitting here this close to somebody that, you know, growing up, I listened to with Pac, with Bone Thugs, like with all that music, you know, like. And I just I wanna thank you because you've successfully passed the torch. You know, you come here and you're talking to the young people like that. Thank you.
Right.
And I grew up in a neighborhood like this, you know,
Right.
and I made it out.
Of course.
And I came back because I was like, I gotta help them. You know, why would I make it out and not come back and help them?
That's important.
And so my question is, because I'm actually working at a local non-for-profit, and I'm working with the teens.
Right on.
And for the kids who are interested in getting involved in hip hop,
Right.
what would be the best avenue for them to like break into that scene somewhere, whether it's making the beats, whether it's writing the lyrics, like how can I, because I want to bring this back to them, you know?
Right, do y'all have the facility? Do y'all have recording and computers and stuff like that?
We got Max, it's hooked up with Logic Pro right now, and I have a MK2.
Right. So I would the first thing that I would suggest to do is maybe you could start bringing in professional people to they got the talent to explain them the business of it and what's behind it. Producers, management, this and that, boom bang. What starts in them becomes what's on the radio and what's on the television and what's on the stage. Start doing talent contests, and then you give them motivation. Say, all right, I want y'all to make a record, but then you gotta say you can't curse. You can talk about it, but you can't glorify violence, and you can't disrespect our women. And then say, this is what we're gonna work on right now. When you start in that way, you'll be amazed at what they can do. And that's the first step. The first step to do is find out what's in them first. Other than wanting to be on the radio and stuff like that. Russell and Run used to look at me, Russell and Rick Rubin used to look at me and Run and say, look, everybody can rap. Everybody wants to be an MC, and they would hit us with this. But could you make a record that everybody wants to listen to, that 35-year-old man would want to listen to, and we'll rock out the music? Because look, then you got to be like, look, you could be the greatest rapper ever. What the hell are you going to do if you don't get a hit record? Russell did not let Run make a record until Run showed him a diploma, because he needed something to fall back on. Also tell him you can still be in hip hop without being a rapper or producer. It's just like people that love basketball. There's a lot of people that love basketball and that don't gotta play like LeBron, but they're commentators, they're managers, they're physical, they're on the team, you know what I'm saying? They're in the organization, they work for the organization. Reveal to them all the possibilities.
So throughout your time in the music business, what's one lesson that you apply to your life today?
Well, the one lesson that I apply to my life today, it's a tricky lesson though. It's a tricky lesson because both are possible, and more power to you if you want to do it. The one thing, and for me musically, it's an art form. It's just a way to express myself. And since I was honest and sincere, I created my own lane and fortunately was successful. Stay true to who you are. And this is the hardest thing to ever say to anybody. Don't do it for the money. But that's hard to say that when, and it's funny, the billionaires say that to you at their conferences. Don't do this for the money. And they got all the money. It's up to you to say, will I sell my soul for this opportunity? So for me, I've learned not to sell my soul, because in the end, there's no gratification of that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, I definitely want $50 million. But I don't need $50 million in 1 year by selling my soul. If I can make $500,000 and $1 million every year until I get there, that's more gratifying to me. But see, that's why I said they both work. Because there's people, how can I tell you don't do that for the money? I can't tell you don't sell drugs for the money, because the money gonna come. I can't tell you You're brilliant like De La Soul, but Universal's about to write you a check for 1.5 and put you in the studio if you do records like 6ix9ine. And in a minute, you'll be on the video we played, but that's you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. To each his own. Any more questions? Oh, question.
Can you tell us what it felt like in the Jamaica Park and the turntables as a young guy? Tell us about that.
He just said, can I tell y'all about going into the park?
Jamaica Park.
Jamaica Park.
Fatback.
192 Park.
Yep. 192.
All of those parks. 136, 134,
O'Connor.
the block parties. O'Connor Park. Yeah, they had some good park players. What it felt like we was on top of the world. It felt like your life was complete. No, we ain't getting no money. But we playing the music and we letting out what was inside of us. And it's making people happy. And at first we got for the young people, there's always going to be a little animosity in the beginning. The thing that got us over was we was playing the music mighty loud. So there was always that lady or that man that's, I'm tired of this noise, this hippie hoppity shipper. Like we call it mumble rap now. But in my generation, it was that hippity hoppity thing. They ain't even speaking right. Remember that? It was the hippity hoppity thing, right? So we got called and the police were coming, for the first couple of times. But the beautiful thing was, what got us over was the elders who hated the noise that we was putting out started realizing, hold on, wait, don't call so fast. They're playing my favorite James Brown song. They're my favorite Parliament song. So now the brothers is in the house and this and that. So now we can get over. We found a break part. As long as the music can play, they ain't gonna call the cops on us.
Sweatsuits,
and we get in sweatsuits and all of that. And the fashion, the whole thing was like, you know what it was like? Let me describe it in this way. The park jams and the block parties and all of that, and the parks and all that, it was like the comic book came to life. Because think about it, hip hop was so powerful that you don't even got to say nothing. You could just walk in the room in the way you dress. Head to toe, the red Kangol, everything's matching. So we was making a statement. The beauty about those park jams was we was allowed to say who we are. And that's the definition of hip hop. Hip hop isn't just rap music and breakdance. Hip hop is how do you creatively and artistically present who you are. It could be through dance, breakdancing, or the dance they do now. It could be through hip hop, the hip hop they do now, or the spoken word or poetry. It could be through the music that we play, whether you make the music, DJ the music, produce the music, and it could just be the way that you look, and it's definitely the whole language that we talk. So to answer your question, it felt like we was on top of the world. And the other thing that took it to the next level once hip-hop was recorded, and remember, hip-hop was only Friday and Saturday night. It's not like now. Now hip-hop has been dumbed down because they got to keep the content out there to keep up their reputation. But hip-hop was only on Friday, Saturday night. Remember I said monotony breeds boredom, and then boredom breeds destruction? Friday and Saturday night was the only time that you could get on the radio with your hip-hop stuff that you were doing in the park.
Wow.
I was like, hold on, yo, come here, man. And then I was like, yo, does anybody ever tell Bruce Springsteen, because he's 55, he can't do rock and roll no more? Hold on. You gonna tell Smokey Robinson he can't go sing cruising? They don't do it. Hold on. You gonna tell Wynton Marsalis and his brother Branson, yo man, you too old to be doing jazz, my brother. Think about it. Why do you think they created that with hip hop? Why do you think they created it? Let's go back to the beginning. Because it was the young people telling the truth about New York City and Studio 54. They know that these young people are powerful, potent, and dangerous to destroying the establishment. Think about that. It's just up to us to encourage those things and present the opportunities that's going to allow them to be successful. Thank you for having me, and I'll see you all at the next time.